Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Raiti from Raiti's Rides, and as you can see, I have a special treat for you today. No, you're wrong. This is not a Mazda Miata. This is a car that the Mazda Miata just wishes it could be. I'm standing right in front of this 2007 Honda S2000. If you don't know anything about the S2000, what you should know right off the bat, this is sports car, pure simplistic form, all at its basis. This is what the Japanese, with a little bit of design ingenuity and a little bit of engineering, can create when they put their mind to it. Let me give you a little history lesson about the S2000. S2000 came onto the scene in the year 2000. It actually was released in 1999 as a 2000 model year car. Early 2000s was a wonderful time to be driving cars because not only were there cars like the S2000, but a lot of other cars that other manufacturers were bringing stateside, and it was just a wonderful time to be a car enthusiast. But the S2000 came on the scene. What made it unique was that not only was it a two-seat sports car, but it was a naturally aspirated one. It has a four-cylinder engine. Now you might say, four-cylinder engine, that thing must be slow. No, this originally came with a 2-liter inline 4. That engine screamed to 9,000 RPM. The 2-liter version is known by enthusiasts in the S2000 community as the AP1. So if you ever hear somebody say AP1, they're not talking about some other car. They're talking about the first generation of the S2000. Eventually, people wanted more torque. Even though that engine screamed to 9,000 RPM and put out 230 horsepower, people wanted more torque. So the engineers went back to the drawing table, and what they did was, in 2004, they came out with the AP2. The AP2 uses a 2.2 liter. So this car, being a 2007, has that 2.2 liter engine. Now, I know you're probably saying, well, that sucks because that original one screamed to 9,000 RPM. Don't be too sad. This thing still screams well over 8,000 RPM. Plus, you're getting that torque for that low down grunt to help get you off the turns when you're doing a track day or an autocross event. Because I'm telling you right now, if you are a fan of small, nimble cars, this thing is the king of the road. This car at an autocross event, at a road course event, would clean house, even though it doesn't have those big, huge horsepower numbers. One little interesting fact about this car is if you are a fan of the Acura NSX, the original one, guess what, guys? That designer, he hit the nail on the head twice. He not only designed the S2000, but also that original Acura NSX. And it was all about celebrating Honda. It was their 50th year anniversary. And what better way to celebrate than such an amazing vehicle? Let's go ahead and take a look at the front of this car. I love the front of the S2000s. It's such a clean look. You know, in the early 2000s, a lot of the styling was starting to get a little bit more round. I like what they did because you can see it is a little bit more curved, but it's clean. I love the lines on the front nose that get carried into the hood. There's our traditional Honda emblem. The headlights, these cars, it's a timeless classic already. Even though this car is a 2007, so it's 11 years old, you may think of a classic as like a 1965 Mustang. This car is a classic. It's a timeless classic. And I'm telling you right now, if at the end of this video, you're like, damn, I want one of those S2000s, good luck finding one, first of all. Good luck finding one that isn't molested and heavily modified by somebody. And third of all, good luck trying to find one at a low price. These things are holding their values like no tomorrow. And that's what is amazing. So it's these things that drive people to desire the car. I think the best part of the front of this car are the headlights. The headlights just give it a nice clean look, and it's something, like I said, that's just, we're going to be talking about this car 20 years from now, I guarantee you. Let's go ahead and take a look at the side of the car. One thing that will separate a 2007, say from that early 2000 or 2001, are going to be these wheels. Originally, the Honda S2000 came with 16-inch wheels. They then eventually upgraded to 17-inch wheels. And as you can see, it's a nice clean wheel. I really like the design, even though they're stock. And 9 out of 10 times, you're gonna see a lot of these later models still have the stock wheel because it is such a good looking wheel. Plus it's staggered, because remember, you're doing an autocross event, you're doing a road course event, you want the tires to be a little bit smaller on the front end of the car. That's gonna quicken up the steering. If you have big fat wide tires on the front, steering's gonna be slow. This thing is a go-kart on wheels. Let's go ahead and pan down the side. One touch that, I don't know, it just really makes me love this fender is the side marker lights. Now this owner actually traded out the lens for a clear club racer lens. There's a special model. If you come across it, buy it up because they're very rare. It's called the Club Racer. Those were lighter versions without a convertible top, and it had a hard top in its place. They used the clear markers, which is a nice touch because especially with the red and the nice S2000 badge, it just makes this car have nice clean lines. Let's go ahead and come down the side here. I love the body line here that they have in the door where it starts in the fender. It gives it a masculine look. You know, the problem with some of these smaller cars is that, you know, people say, oh, it's a girl's car. You know, that Mazda Miata, that's a girl's car. That's one of the things I like about the S2000 is I like the masculine lines in it, because I'm telling you right now, this car is one hell of a car when you get it on a twisty road. Somebody in a Corvette, somebody in a Porsche, they're gonna have a hard time keeping up with you through those twisties just because of how light and balanced this car is. This car weighs in just a little bit more than 2,800 pounds. That's a featherweight by today's standards. Let's continue our look at the car down to the rear. Honda really finished off this car well, and this is another part that I love. I love this nice little kick-up spoiler here with the integrated third brake light. I really like these tail lights. What's cool about them is that obviously they're one whole tail light, but I like the way they look like they're separate inside there. I think that's a really good look. And then of course you have these nice twin exhaust pipes. I think if this car just had one single pipe from the factory, it wouldn't look exactly right. But I think, like I said, it's about that masculine look of the car to try to get more guys into something like this. I think they just finished it off perfectly. So I don't know about you, but I'm ready to check out that 2.2 liter underneath the hood. All right, guys, here we are underneath the hood of this 2007 Honda S2000. Right off the bat, one thing I always love about Honda engine compartments, they're so well engineered just on the layout of where everything is. I really like the attention that they pay when it comes to routing of hoses, to the brake lines, the air box, the whole 9 yards. So like I said before, this is a 2.2 liter, red lines at over 8,000 RPM, putting out to the crankshaft about 237 horsepower. Now, one thing I want to let you know is that we are lucky enough to live in Clearwater, Florida. In Clearwater, Florida, there's a company called LHT Performance. LHT knows these Honda S2000s, insides, outsides, front to back. The owner of this amazing car is going to be taking his S2000 down to LHT. Stay tuned in the upcoming weeks to see what mods he's going to be doing to even get more power out of this engine. But LHT has been known for taking these engines and getting that horsepower number up, even to the point where they're adding superchargers to these engines. But as you can see, it's a normally aspirated engine. You don't have to worry about turbo lag. You don't have to worry about anything like that. It's a Honda, so you know it's going to run forever. And that's what's amazing about these cars, is that people take them to the track, do the autocross events, you can't break them. And that's what allows them to hold their value so well. It's not just the beautiful simplicity of the body, it's not only this ass-kicking engine, but it's a Honda, so you know it's going to keep lasting. And that's why I promise you, when you go to look for one of these on Auto Trader or on eBay or whatever, it's gonna be hard to find one as nice as this. So let's go ahead and take a look at the inside. All right, guys, so I'm inside the cockpit of this Honda S2000, and to be honest with you, I think cockpit is the perfect word for this. The reason why is it's like a fighter cockpit. Everything that the driver wants is right in front of the most important person in the car, the driver. If you look real briefly over at the passenger side, they don't get much. They get to control one air vent. That's their responsibility for when you're taking them for a ride. Other than that, it's all for you. As you can see, the simplicity, it's taken from outside of the car, that nice simplistic design, nice clean look, to the inside of this car. Now, one thing I want to point out right off the bat, which you might not know, is that you might say, well, hold on a second. I like to listen to music, especially if I have a convertible and the top's down. Where's the radio in here? Well, guess what? Don't worry, it's here. Underneath this silver panel, flips down, this is where the radio is located. This is pretty much, other than that air vent, all the person, your passenger, is going to be able to touch. What's cool though is if you leave this up, all the radio controls are going to be right at the touch of your left hand. And that's what this car is all about. When you're driving, you obviously are going to have your hands on the wheel. You want to adjust the air conditioning's right here. You want to adjust this radio? You don't need to flip this down. Radio controls are right here with the left hand. That's what I love about this car. The engineers wanted everything to be at the fingertips of the driver. Before I go any more into the dash, let's focus on this guy right here. This car has a 6-speed manual transmission. Guess what? Are you saying right now, well, I don't know how to drive stick? You got two choices if you want this car. You could either A, go learn how to drive stick, or pay a chauffeur to chauffeur you around that knows how to drive stick, because there's no automatics for this car. And that's how it should be. This is an enthusiast car. It's a driver's car. Needs to be manual. What I love about this transmission is very similar to my Honda Civic Type R that I used to have. The throws are very short, very mechanical. To be honest with you, I like this transmission better than in the Type R. It has more of that mechanical feel, and I really like that. It's almost like having a rifle, firing the rifle and then reloading the rifle the same exact way, that same metal mechanical feel, very smooth. Look how short these throws are. I'm barely moving my arm. I can't wait to take this car out, because guess what? I've never driven an S2000, so you're gonna be there with me for the first time. Let's go ahead and check out this dash. All right, so now let me go ahead and turn on the ignition of this Honda S2000, and you're gonna see an array of lights. It's actually quite cool to look at every time you fire up the car. This car obviously has a full digital dash, and you know, you're seeing it more now in the 21st century with more cars having digital dashes, but this is really coming out at a time where it was still super new and super fresh. As you can see, there's that tachometer, goes all the way up to that 8,000 RPM limit. You have a nice digital speedometer here right in the center to let you know what your speed is. You have your temperature gauge, your fuel gauge. Everything is nice and neat and tidy. Another thing I want to point out is I really like how Honda took all the warning lights and put them in this lower bar down here. I think that just gives it a nice clean touch. Another thing I want to point out to you is that to make everything driver oriented, where you find cruise control is actually going to be over here behind the steering wheel. There's a button that you have to press, and what's interesting is because you're kind of limited on the amount of space that you have on the digital dash, you could see that with the cruise control button on, it lights up to let you know that the cruise control is activated. On the other side, if you look, you have your button to shut off your traction control. So everything is right there, and it's just really well laid out. But I don't know about you, I am ready to take this car for a ride. All right, guys, so we're gonna fire up this Screamer, and I'm gonna be able to take an S2000 for a spin for the first time ever. I'm actually really excited about how this experience is gonna be. So just like before, we turn on the ignition, I'm gonna hit the engine start button, fires are up, and like I said, wonderful 6-speed manual transmission. I can't wait to feel how smooth this is as I'm rolling through the gears, taking you guys for a ride. Another thing that's a lot of fun about this car, we got the top down. One thing that Honda did with this car is they gave you a full power top. So it's not like a Miata where you got to throw it back. This thing, you just press a button, top goes up, press it again, top goes down, easy peasy. And like I said, they did it and they still kept the car at 2,800 pounds. Another feature that you just don't see anymore in cars, believe it or not, especially sporty ones, this thing has a spare tire as well. So you might say, oh man, that trunk is so small. Yeah, it does have a smaller trunk, just like a Miata or anything else like that, 2-seat sports small car. But they even were able to put a spare tire instead of some stupid plug kit and some foam to fill you up to hopefully get you to where you're going. So let's go ahead and take this car out onto the road. I really like the smoothness of the throttle. I like the clutch. The clutch is super light, which there's really no need for it to be heavy. This isn't some V8 or V12. The steering is so tight. And I'm telling you right now, this shifter, I just shifted in a second. I barely moved my wrist. Wow, I'm in love with this car. I'm actually kind of regretting taking it for a drive because I don't want to have to be that person that's going to go out and try to find one as nice as this one is. But immediately you just feel totally connected with this car. You feel totally in tune with it. Just so nice. I mean, you don't feel anything, but boy, when that VTEC kicks in, that's where you're really feeling the power. And Honda was the first to have that variable timing on the cams. And in a way, it sort of feels like you're driving a turbo car because you're waiting for that VTEC to kick in. But I'm telling you right now, you don't wait long, and once it's there, it screams. And she just keeps pulling. The throttle is so responsive. The car just wants to keep pulling even past the red line. I like the sound, even though this car has the stock exhaust. I love the sound. Like I said, stay tuned. In a couple weeks, we're gonna bring you back this same car with the mods that were done. Alright guys, so it's been one hell of a day with this Honda S2000. It has put the biggest smile on my face. You know, it's unbelievable, just the engineering, and it's unbelievable to think that this car is 11 years old. It just blows my mind because it feels like it just came right out of the factory. The design still stands out today. The features still stand out today. The performance of that engine, it's still right up there. Like I said, I think that this car personally is a head step above the Mazda Miata, even the new version of the Mazda Miata or the Fiat 124 Spider. Definitely this is the one to get. So I want to thank you guys for watching today. I want you to make sure you subscribe. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit it. I guarantee you it's worth coming back to check out my reviews, to check out my vlogs. Also, if you have a ride that you want featured on Raiti's Rides, drop a comment in that comment section. You could visit raitisrides.com and you can message me there. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next ride.